In a hot pot restaurant on Dongxi Street, customers filled the place, steam billowed from the hot pot cauldrons, and the incessant clinking of glasses and toasts echoed. We chose an empty table in a secluded corner. Golden Tooth kept pouring wine. I thought he must be trying to get me drunk to extract information, and quickly stopped him, saying, "Master Kim, this erguoto is too strong. I am a poor drinker, so I will stick to beer." While eating and chatting, the topic soon turned back to tomb raiding. Golden Tooth opened his mouth, tapped his golden tooth with a finger, and said, "Look, brothers, I bought this golden tooth at Panjiayuan. It was extracted from inside a zongzi, Frankish gold from the pre-Ming era. I could not bear to sell it, so I extracted one of my own teeth and put this one in." This guy was really something, talking about such disgusting things during a meal. The more I thought about it, the more nauseous I felt. Did he want people to eat any more? If he was just stingy, he should have said so directly. I changed the subject, talking about something else. Money rules the servants, skill rules the professionals. We chatted aimlessly about the art of Feng Shui tomb surveying and recounted stories from my time as a combat engineer in the Kunlun Mountains. Golden Tooth listened, constantly praising and admiring me to no end. Before being conscripted by the Kuomintang, Golden Tooth's father was a disciple of a master tomb raider named Kai from Hunan. He knew many techniques for digging up graves and robbing tombs, but he had not learned the method of locating burial sites. Even Mr. Kai himself, his master, did not understand this Feng Shui art. After the 12th year of the Republic, Li Yizi, a farmer from Luoyang, invented the Luoyang spade. Before that, the Luoyang spade was not yet widespread. Their school of tomb raiding primarily relied on sniffing, and to maintain the sensitivity of their noses, they had to abstain from spicy foods, beer, and wine. They would use iron spades to pierce the ground, then pull them out and smell the various odors the spade brought up from underground. They also relied on the feel in their hands while digging. Whether the ground was hollow or contained wood or tiles, the sensation was certainly different. In fact, this method was similar to the principle of the Luoyang spade's digging, except one relied on smell and the other on sight. The soil brought up by the Luoyang spade clearly showed its composition. If there were fragments of porcelain, cloth, wood, or gold, silver, copper, lead, iron, tin, or mercury, or even rammed earth, bricks, or tiles, etc., these things all indicated the presence of a burial site underground. At the same time, these clues could also be used to estimate the age and structural layout of the ancient tomb below. However, the art of sniffing the earth had been lost by Golden Tooth's generation. His father was crippled in both legs, and he himself suffered from congenital asthma, so he no longer worked as a Mojin Shaowei. People in this profession usually encountered many genuine artifacts, and he relied on that discernment to trade antiques. I joked that his ancestors' skills were still a bit low. I heard the elders in my family talk about tomb raiding. True masters did not need iron spades or Luoyang spades at all. Those were all clumsy methods. A capable person only needed to go to a place, take a quick look, and immediately know if there was an ancient tomb underground, where it was buried, and what its structure was like. Wherever the feng shui was excellent, there must be a large tomb, and the person buried within, who was not an ordinary individual during their lifetime, surely had many treasures in their tomb. True grandmasters disdain things like the Luoyang spade, because if the ground was not dry enough, its effectiveness would significantly decrease, especially in the fertile Jiangnan region, where rainfall is abundant and countless ancient tombs are submerged in groundwater, their soil layers having been completely washed away. After hearing me blabber on for a while, Golden Tooth became even more reverent, saying, "Uncle Yi, I truly admire you. There is a saying, isn't there? If one can hear the Tao in the morning, one can die in the evening without regret." Hearing your profound insights, I feel I have not lived this long in vain. A talent like you, who understands feng shui and has served as a combat engineer, possessing knowledge of earthwork and construction. You are truly a rare find, someone who can only be met by chance, not sought out. It would be such a pity for someone with your abilities not to be a Mojin Shaowei. I shook my head. That unprincipled work, I do not want to do it. Everything I just said was merely what I heard my grandfather tell. He too used to be a Mojin Shaowei back then and ended up encountering a giant Zongzi, almost losing his life. Golden Tooth said that danger certainly existed, but having a few black donkey hooves on hand would ensure peace of mind. Besides, there is a saying that even thieves have principles. The bad reputation of tomb raiding was ruined by those low-class petty thieves. Those types were not professionals at all. They did not know the rules and caused destruction everywhere, so how could people not resent them? The history of this tomb raiding profession can be traced back no less than 3,000 years. In ancient times, during the Three Kingdoms period, Cao Cao had an army specialized in excavating treasures from ancient tombs to fund military expenses, which is why we call this profession Mojin Shaowei. Before liberation, the tomb raiding profession was divided into 4 schools: East, West, South, and North. By the 80s, talents had dwindled, and only a few remained. The remaining few had also washed their hands and retired from the business. The youngsters today are all idle village boys, gathering in gangs to dig up graves and exhume corpses. They know nothing of the professional rules like 2 not taken, 1 left, or 3 incense sticks, 3 kowtows, blowing out the lamp, then searching for gold. Oh, so many precious artifacts have been destroyed by their hands. Golden Tooth sighed for a moment, then said to us, "I have been dealing with these items at Panjayuan for many years. If you 2 brothers ever find anything good in the future, I can handle contacting buyers. You can negotiate the price yourselves, and if a deal is made, just give me a small commission." Fatty, who had been engrossed in eating and drinking, was quite full by now. Suddenly remembering something, he took out a jade piece from his person and handed it to Golden Tooth for appraisal, to see how much it was worth. Golden Tooth examined it for a moment, then brought it to his nostril and sniffed it a few times, declaring, "Fatty, your jade piece is of good quality, at least 1,000 years old, perhaps even older, maybe even pre-Tang. The writing on it is not Chinese characters. I cannot identify what it is, but it is definitely worth a lot. However, before setting a specific price, hold on to it and do not sell it too soon, or you might suffer a big loss. How did you come to possess this jade piece?" At the mention of family history, Fatty became excited. The origin of this jade piece? Well, that is a long story. Let me tell you briefly. My father received this jade piece from a friend who participated in the Huang Ma uprising. My father's friend was then the commander of a field army. When he led his troops into Xinjiang, his unit encountered a group of bandits. These bandits truly had a death wish. Were the military police escorting the highest-ranking leaders of the Liberation Army just idle? In less than 5 or 6 minutes, over 100 bandits were completely annihilated. While clearing the battlefield, the soldiers found this jade piece on the bandit leader's body, and he immediately took it as a souvenir to give to my father. As for its history before that, I am not too clear. We continued eating and drinking until past midnight, before finally dispersing. Before we left, Golden Tooth gave each of us a hook-shaped item about 1 inch long, shiny black and rigid. It had 2 seal characters engraved on it, which judging by their form were likely Mojin. This item was ancient, certainly an antique. One end had a hole drilled through it, threaded with a red string, so it could be worn as a necklace. Golden Tooth said, "We have just met, yet it feels like we have known each other for a long time. These 2 protective amulets, made from pangolin claws, you 2 should keep as mementos. When you have free time, come find me at Panjayuan. Rivers flow on, mountains endure. We will meet again often." Fatty and I returned to the small rented room near Chongwenmen. Because we had drunk too much, as soon as we lay down, we fell into a deep slumber until noon the next day. After waking up, lying in bed and looking at the low ceiling, I thought a great deal. This tomb raiding profession, in fact, was not at all strange to me. I was sure I could find some large tombs. Money was not the most important thing to me. I could say I did not care whether I had money or not, but life was always full of contradictions, and today I desperately needed money. My parents were both supported by the state, so I had no family burdens. If I was full, no one in my family would starve. But what about my comrades who sacrificed themselves on the battlefield? Who would care for and support their parents? The money for medical treatment, for medicine, for their younger sisters and brothers' tuition fees. Relying on a few severance payments was not even enough to buy a wooden fish. On the battlefield, it seemed everyone except me had a reason not to die, yet I was the last survivor. My life was exchanged for the lives of countless comrades. What could I do for them now? Just then, Fatty also woke up, rubbing his eyes. Seeing me staring blankly at the ceiling, he said, "Hey Yi, what are you thinking about?" Actually, even if you do not say it, I know. You are touched by what that golden-toothed guy said last night, are you not? I am itching to go too. What are we going to do, brothers? I am just waiting for your word. I took out the amulet Golden Tooth had given us. Fatty, do not think that guy is a good person. He is just a businessman. He only gets involved if there is profit. These claws, Mojin Shaowei, Cao Cao's subordinates during the Three Kingdoms period, often wore such precious items. How could he just give them to us so easily? He knows our capabilities and is trying to gain some benefit from us. Fatty was annoyed, damn it. I knew that scoundrel was not any good. Later, I am going to Panjiayuan and break his rotten tooth and throw it in the latrine. Although he said that, we discussed it and decided it was better to take advantage of each other for now, not to turn hostile with that guy too quickly. I had a flaw. I was too impetuous, not thinking much about consequences. Seeing that this path of tomb raiding was feasible, Chairman Mao said that everything in the world has two sides. Good things can turn bad and vice versa. That is dialectics. In the tombs of emperors, kings, and high officials, there were countless treasures and valuables. But could it be said that these things belonged only to the tomb's owner? Were they not all exploited from the common people? What was taken from the people, by rights, should be used for the people. How could they be allowed to sleep eternally underground with those dry bones? If we were going to do something, we had to go big. Folk tombs were insignificant, most contained nothing valuable, and moreover, stealing from ordinary people would greatly harm one's moral merit. I once heard my grandfather explain the rules of the Mojin Shaowei, which were completely different from those of common tomb robbers. Those robbers were a difficult bunch, indiscriminately stealing, acting utterly ruthless. They did not care if the deceased was a loyal minister or a good general, an official or a commoner. They plundered whomever they found with no rules whatsoever. If they had any, they were just made up by a few farmers, completely disorganized. Mojin Shaowei, however, were different. Whenever they excavated a large tomb, they had to light a candle inside the underground palace of the tomb, placing it in the southeast corner. Only then would they open the Mojin coffin. The deceased's most precious belongings were always carried on their person. Some tomb owners, especially those of princely rank or higher, had jade pearls in their mouths, were adorned with gold and jade, had a heart, guard jade on their chest, a ruyi jade scepter in their hands, and even gemstones inserted into their anuses. When taking action, they were not to harm the deceased's remains, they had to gently feel from head to toe. Finally, they absolutely had to leave a few treasures for the deceased. During this process, if the candle in the southeast corner of the tomb went out, they immediately had to return what they had taken to its original place, respectfully kowtow 3 times, and then retreat along the same path. Because according to legend, some tombs contain ghosts. As for why these ghosts did not enter the cycle of reincarnation and remained in their tombs for hundreds or thousands of years, it was difficult to explain. It was very likely because they could not bear to part with the glory and wealth they enjoyed in life. Even in death, they still guarded their riches daily. If one encountered a tomb owner who valued their possessions more than their life, one should not forcefully take their belongings. Finally, Fatty and I decided that since things were this way, we might as well become Mojin Shaowei. As for self-reproach, we would just pretend our conscience had been eaten by dogs. No, only half of it had been eaten by pets. Still not right. Let us try looking at it from another angle. It was the 80s now. Were people not calling for contributions? It was time for those kings, nobles, and exploiters of the working people to contribute a little. But those ghosts and devils were poorly enlightened. We could not expect them to crawl out and contribute themselves. So, we would help them with these matters. extorting money from the feudal ruling class, tidying up every silver dish and gold cup, redistributing land. Honestly, it was not an easy job. The strategic direction had been determined, but the specific tactical objectives and how to implement them still needed thorough discussion. The three regions of Henan, Hunan, and Shaanxi were where tomb raiding was most prevalent. Ancient tombs were not easy to find, and acting in crowded places was inconvenient. Furthermore, they had to conceal their activities by farming or building houses. If we were going to do this, it was best to go to remote, deep mountains and forests where human footprints were scarce. Speaking of deep mountains and remote forests, among the large tombs I had encountered, the one on Buffalo Heart Mountain certainly ranked first. When I went up into the mountains and down to the countryside, I was still too young and knew nothing. Based on my current experience, I judged that tomb was likely from before the Northern Song dynasty, during the prosperous Tang dynasty. Most people preferred to use mountains as mausoleums, a custom that continued until the early Song dynasty. After the Southern Song dynasty, the national power gradually declined, and from then on, no imperial mausoleum dared to undertake such massive construction. Fatty asked, "Did you not say there were ghosts on Buffalo Heart Mountain?" Let us find a place without ghosts. We can handle wild men or bears, but if we encounter ghosts, we will not know what to do. I said, "First, there are no ghosts in this world. What I told you last time might just have been a hallucination from a high fever. Second, this is our first operation, so we do not necessarily have to go into the mountains. Do you remember Yanzi village had many antique houses? Let us just go there, buy a few things, and bring them back to sell, saving us the trouble of overthinking." That day, we split up to prepare. Fatty went to deal with the backlog of cassette tapes, while I went to the flea market to buy some necessary tools like flashlights, gloves, masks, candles, ropes, water bottles. What thrilled me the most was buying 2 German combat engineer spades. Holding a spade in my hand felt like reuniting with an old friend. This type of combat engineer spade was originally equipped for German mountain assault divisions in World War II. Later, many were captured by Soviet forces, and when Sino-Soviet relations were friendly, a portion was brought into Chinese territory. German combat engineer spades were very convenient, light, foldable, and could be hung from the belt. Moreover, the steel quality was excellent. Not to mention just digging earth and breaking rocks. In an emergency, they could be used as weapons. One swing could easily cleave half of an enemy's head. The only regret was not being able to buy a gas mask. Years ago, when the whole country carried out 3 preventions, the populace was distributed quite a few 6 type gas masks. They were occasionally sold at the flea market, but today I was unlucky and could not buy one, so I would have to plan for it later. Some other things were also missing. Those would be prepared at Gonggong camp. In total, I spent over 1,500 yuan, mainly because the 2 spades were too expensive, 600 yuan each. Or rip off. In the end, I only had 6 yuan left on me. This was not good. Was there no money for train tickets? Fortunately, Fatty sold off all the cassette tapes, returned the rented room, and sold the pedicab. Combined, it was just enough for travel expenses. We went to buy train tickets that very night. Years ago, when I left that place, I was not even 18. Now, more than 10 years later, I was returning. The thought of seeing relatives I had not met in many years made us feel a little emotional.